trust the Tories on the economy. Inflation at a 40-year high, taxes at a 70-year high. We saw this week car production at a 66-year low, and he's talking about releasing British genius. Why doesn't he start cutting our taxes?
And debt at a record high as well.
£2.5 trillion.
Yeah. I mean, what we heard this morning was typical Tory talk.
Yeah.
All aspiration.
It didn't sound very Tory to me.
No, it didn't, but typical of this Tory party.
Right.
All aspiration, all if you believe hard enough, we'll get there. But let's just unpick what he said. Inflation. Inflation raised its ugly head when taxes were already high, when government debt was already high, when the regulatory framework which currently existed. So his idea that keeping taxes high somehow is going to cut inflation is completely wrong. The only reason inflation is going to reduce this year, and it will reduce irrespective of what government does, is because it's already tracked out. We've had 12 months of inflation. Yeah. We're rebasing it off a higher level. So inflation, most economists are forecasting inflation down to 3 or 4% by the end of the year. What he fails to grasp, and what singularly seems to be failed to be grasped by any Tory MP, is that government only has 3 levers as far as the economy is concerned: taxation, spending, and the regulatory framework. And let's just look at each of those. Spending. Well, we can't spend more because we've already got record levels of borrowing, and taxation can't go up much higher. So spending is not a mechanism the government can use in a big way to get the economy going. Taxation, well, they've said they're not cutting it. And the regulatory framework hasn't changed, notwithstanding Rishi Sunak's promise that as Prime Minister, within the first 100 days, he would reverse out from our statute books all those EU laws, 4,000 of them, which are now on a back burner. So we haven't deregulated, we haven't charted a path through the United Kingdom that is independent, nimble, and puts the national interest first. We're not going to cut taxes, and we can't spend any more. So what we've got, I'm afraid, Andrew, is continuity catastrophe.
And before I bring Tessa in, who's chuckling here, because I think, of course, Tessa Dunlop here, historian and broadcaster.
Well, you must agree, whichever side of the political spectrum you're on.
Just before I get Tessa in, I want to say also, and we shouldn't forget, he's talking about creating this fantastic new Silicon Valley, Singapore in Europe. How's he going to do that when he's just about to put corporation tax up by 6%?
That's the point.
When in his Tory leadership campaign last summer, by which I have to remind people he came last, he said he would cut corporation tax by 7%.
But you're absolutely right. You don't hope Silicon Valley into existence. You create Silicon Valley by giving tax incentives and actually entering into government-private partnerships. Silicon Valley is built very firmly on the US government working in tandem with private enterprise to make things happen. Governments can't do stuff on their own. Governments have been proven repeatedly to be hopeless at starting enterprises and then managing them through to success. You need private involvement. And the only way you get private involvement, and you said it, Andrew, is you've got to have a tax framework that helps the private sector to make money. And we are overtaxed, and we're about to put taxes up.